Hey everyone, I'm Josh and today is my birthday. And with that, some thoughts have been creeping up into my mind that I would like to share. Because I know that whenever I'm going through things or whenever certain thought patterns are recurring in my life, I know that I am by no means the only person dealing with these things. In fact, it seems pretty common that we tend to have the same experiences or the same thoughts that will hit us around the same time in our lives. And there's a good reason for that, right? We're all human beings. We all are in the same boat for the most part. And with that, of course, we're going to have similar life experiences. So the thought that I've been dealing with lately is that I'm not quite where I wish to be in life. Like, I just turned 31 and I moved back in with my parents at early last year at 30. So I'm not quite where I'd like to be in life, of course. Like, nobody wants to be moving back in with their parents at 30. By then, you'd hope that you have your own place and things are going well and you're saving up money to be able to afford a family and a house and that kind of thing. But it's interesting. Like, when I was young, I thought I'd be so much further ahead than where I'm currently at. Like, bear with me here, I'm going to be incredibly honest in this video. Like, I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not. I never want to do that for my viewers. I want to be as honest and open as possible because, again, I think it helps people because we're all in the same boat. And if we act like things are better than they are when a lot of us probably aren't doing that well, it doesn't help any of us, right? So I want to be honest here and just share what's going through my mind. And yeah, it's a lot of these comparison games that can be rather tricky to deal with. Like, I imagine all of us deal with that every time our birthday comes around as we get older and older, because you start thinking about where you want to be in life and where you're currently at. And if there's a big gap there, it's not good, right? Like, your mind is going to start spiraling and thinking, holy crap, I'm getting older. I have less time to accomplish my goals, less time to achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve at certain milestones in my life. Like, I wanted to own a house by 30. I want to start a family by 35. Clearly, I've already missed the milestone for owning a house. That didn't end up happening. And the family one is coming up. And I'm also afraid that that's not going to be something I'll be able to obtain in time. So even me just saying that, though, if you notice, pay attention to this. This is fear-based thinking, right? But getting older tends to put us in that mentality. Like, right now I'm thinking from fear. It's not from a place of like abundance or anything. I mean, I am lacking that in my life, so there is that. There's a reason for it. But this is the problem that we can run into. So it's incredibly important to not play those comparison games, not let your mind start running rampant. And especially don't do this in comparison to other people, because that's super not helpful. Like, we're all on our own journeys in life. All of us have had different starting points. Like, if you knew anyone who had rich parents, obviously they're going to be doing a lot better than those of us who are middle class or even poor. They're going to be doing way better. So comparing yourself to them is a bit stupid. It's like comparing yourself to someone who's taking steroids when you're at the gym. If you're natural and they're taking steroids, obviously they have a huge advantage compared to you. They're going to be putting on muscle way quicker than you because they're using shortcuts. Well, someone who was born under rich parents, that's one of the biggest shortcuts you can get in life, because immediately it means you're never going to be hurting for money, and you didn't even do anything yourself to accomplish that. You were just born under them. Like, you got lucky. You won that lottery from birth, but it wasn't anything you did. So hopefully you can see why it's not very helpful to compare ourselves to other people like that. And it's especially important to not compare yourself to where you wanted to be at this point in your life if you didn't end up hitting it. If you did hit it, by all means, that's awesome. Give yourself a pat on the back, because that's especially hard to do in today's world. Like, one of the biggest things that my eyes have been open to in the past year or so is how difficult life is for the youth. Like, there's just so many things that have happened over the past few decades. All this wealth disparity that's created a lot of problems. COVID made it even worse. Like, I'm sure everybody's aware of the further divide that's growing between even like the rich versus the 1%ers. The people are at the incredibly tippy top of everything. Those people are just hoarding all this wealth, like Elon Musk and Bezos and all of them. And a lot of them, unfortunately, we know that now, this is painfully obvious, have their fingers in our government. Like, some of them literally, they're in our government now. So there you go. They're just pulling the strings. They're basically changing the game to favor themselves, and that usually means that we are the ones who are going to be hurting. So if you're doing well nowadays, that's huge. Like, it's difficult to succeed right now. A lot of cards are stacked against us, provided, of course, you were born to middle class or poor parents. Like, it's just a difficult starting point, especially for the people who are born to poor parents. Like, that is even the hardest of the hard. So it's just unfortunate that we live in this world right now where things are so difficult for people who didn't win that lottery at birth, that none of us have control over, right? So yeah, it's something I wanted to talk about, and things I've been thinking about a lot lately, and this is why I'm in the place that I'm in. I mean, of course, some of my actions have placed me here too. I can't deny that. Like, there's accountability on my end here. I honestly have close to zero desire to play this game of the rat race and gamifying capitalism to become as rich as possible. The pursuit of money just has never been something that's really motivated me, because I care about people way more than that. And yeah, that is a kind of a mentality that can lead to you not doing so well in life, obviously, right? Because then it means you're not gaming the system that you work within. So yeah, there's countless people throughout history who cared about others to that extent and didn't really care about money, and yeah, they tended to not do very well. And I'm finding that I'm kind of ending up in the same boat because of how often I put mental health before money, and because of how often I just straight up do not really want to work for corporations that treat me like a cog in a wheel, like a number. I want to work for people who actually care about me, and that's tough to find. It's very difficult to find jobs that actually treat you like a human being. Usually they're going to be privately owned, because unfortunately the Supreme Court did rule, God, I think it was almost 100 years ago at this point, in favor of, like, they basically ruled that corporations that are public are only accountable to the shareholders, meaning they have to do what the shareholders want. And if the shareholders, usually this is what they want short-term profits, well, guess what that means? That means that corporations that are public will do layoffs and other things like that. They'll cut costs as much as possible to gamify the system to create a profit in the short term that benefits the shareholders. But that means that employees who are human beings like you and I will lose their jobs, and they'll have to struggle from that point forward because they're treated like a cog in a wheel, a number in a system, in a database. They're not treated like human beings. And this is happening on a wide scale because every public corporation in the US has that accountability to shareholders. Every single one. The law literally dictates it. The Supreme Court created this problem for us. So it's pretty crazy. And it shows why so many people are unhappy, because we live in a world where shareholders are the most important people when it comes to business. So no wonder employees, their opinion isn't going to matter. They're not the shareholders. The corporation doesn't need to do anything to make the lives of employees better. And that also means the customers too, which is why products are so crappy nowadays, right? Like, our parents were constantly talking about how things were built to last like 30 years ago, and that's no longer the case. There's a reason for that, because again, corporations only need to think about the shareholders. So yeah, there's just a lot going on that makes life rather difficult for the youth. And these are just some thoughts I've been dealing with lately, and I know many of us are in the same boat, and it's just a bit harder now that my birthday's come around, because yeah, I'm not where I want to be in life. And the most important thing that I try to remind myself of is that's okay, because it truly is. It's truly okay that I'm not where I want to be, and that I imagine many of us aren't, because again, the cards have been stacked against us. That doesn't mean, of course, that we don't have some accountability here, but it's difficult. We don't have the same starting points that future generations had. Things tended to be better for all the prior generations, and over time it was slowly getting worse. Like, my parents were telling me about all the benefits they didn't get to have while growing up, because again, like, they were being taken away over time. Like, all these, like, even pensions, that's a good example. They don't really exist anymore. Unions are disappearing because corporations have convinced everyone basically that unions are these horrible things, because guess what that means? Unions make it so corporations can't take advantage of you, so they don't want unions, so there are less unions now. People who work under unions are incredibly lucky because they have the protections that come with them. So yeah, it's interesting the times that we're living in. But I don't really want the intent of this video to be like doom and gloom. Like, that's not the point here. I just want to be honest and understand that sometimes me being honest can mean that I'll be like a Debbie Downer. But I just want to be real. Like, that was my whole goal with this video. But if I can add a silver lining, because I like to do this, I don't like to end my videos on negative because it's not super helpful. If I can share a few tips for you, the most important ones are literally, I can't even speak, just be that you be kinder to yourself, be nicer to yourself, because yeah, things are difficult now. And with that, of course, if you're going to be nicer to yourself, that doesn't mean you probably don't want to compare yourself to other people as much. Especially don't compare yourself to prior generations, because again, they were playing under different rules than we're playing under now. The world was different, the economy was different, the rich weren't quite controlling things to the extent they are now. So it was a lot different. Like, we're playing with harder cards than they were. So do not compare yourself to anyone who's older than you. It just isn't going to be very helpful. And especially don't compare yourself to those people who had rich parents or just parents who gave them a lot, that kind of thing, were able to support them monetarily, because again, that's also them having a different starting point than you had. It's just not helpful to do this. And we can easily trick ourselves into thinking that our lives aren't great. I mean, hell, in this video, I've kind of done that, right? Like, I'm really glad that my parents let me move back in with them. Like, for one, it means I'm back with my family, which is amazing. And two, it means that I'm not on the streets, because holy crap, if I had stayed in California, that could have been the eventual destination for me with how expensive it was getting over there, and the fact that my wages weren't increasing much over time. And again, partly that was my fault because of me putting mental health before money. But hey, that's just how I am. It is what it is. Unfortunately, people like me weren't exactly made to exist well in the system, because it takes advantage of people. It's all about exploitation, and I just don't think that exploiting others is cool. In fact, it really pisses me off, because it reminds me of the bullying I dealt with while growing up. And yeah, that's a topic for another day. Basically, my whole justice system is kind of messed up from the bullying I dealt with. So I really don't like situations where it feels like people are taking advantage of me and there isn't anything I can do to fight back against it. So yeah, but my whole point here is just be kinder to yourself and don't compare yourself to other people. That's probably the two best pieces of advice I could give you when it comes to dealing with getting older and not quite being where you want to be in life. Because yeah, I imagine a lot of us are in the same boat here, and it can be incredibly easy to just allow yourself to think yourself into oblivion and not remind yourself of all the good things going on in your life. So just do more of that. Be more grateful. Remind yourself of the good things in your life, because yeah, it's one of the most helpful things to do, especially given the current state of things. So that's basically all I have for you guys. If I keep talking, I feel like I'll go back to being Debbie Downer Josh again. That's not my point here. I mean, there should be a day of celebration, of course, for me, but yeah, things are hard, what can I say? And I'll keep working to hopefully get to a better place in the future. And along that journey, I'm just going to keep practicing what I said in this video. Being kinder to myself, not being so hard on myself, not comparing myself to other people. And that third thing that I just recently added, being more grateful too. Those are all super helpful for just navigating the modern world and the direction it's going. And so, yeah, that's all I have for you guys. I truly hope I didn't, make things a bit too negative here. I just wanted to be real. That's my whole goal with you guys always, just to be as real as possible, because if I lie, if I'm fake here, I don't think that's helpful, because again, there could be countless of you in the same boat as me with the exact same feelings as me. And if I'm not real, if I don't share how I'm feeling, that doesn't validate anybody else's experience. And it also could make you think that I'm doing really well when I'm not. I've been honest. I'm not really quite where I want to be in life, but that's okay. And it's okay if you're in the same boat. It's okay for all of us. Just keep hanging in there. Keep trying to be as optimistic as possible and remind yourself of all the good things in your life. And let's just keep going, and hopefully things will get better in the future. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. I really need to end this video here so I can stop rambling. I truly hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. I hope it wasn't super negative. And if you're in the same boat, there you go. Now you know that there's more people like us. It's not just you who's hurting with all of this and dealing with the toughness of the current situation in life. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Arrivederci.